have to ask the international body. President claims that he has this right to assassinate American citizens.
Jail term.
He has the right to arrest an American citizen under suspicion of whatever he thinks is the suspicion. Arrest an American citizen, and guess what? Put an American citizen in prison without an attorney, without a trial, in a secret prison indefinitely. If we want to live in a free society, we want our Constitution, and we want our liberties, those kind of things have to be reversed and repealed.
That's right! Woo!
Now, a lot has happened in these last 10 years. I think in the last 10 years, the recession has been going on. We had 132 million people employed 10 years ago. Today, we have 132 million people employed. We have 30 million new people in the country, which means there's a lot of unemployment. They tell us statistically the employment rate is dropping down, there's no inflation. There's reason to be very suspect with government statistics and pronouncements because they will put the best spin on things. But in these last 10 years, our wealth has gone down and the employment rate is still very high. The free market economists say that the employment rate is closer to 20%, not 80%. And then they tell you there's no inflation. It's only the prices are only going up at a rate of about 2%. Just talk somebody who's on a fixed income. What they've done is they've destroyed the incentives to take care of ourselves. They want us to be dependent on the government. It seems, I can't believe that they really want to, but I don't know what other conclusion they can come to. Because I've quizzed Bernanke as well as Greenspan about the monetary system. I asked them, I said, why do you keep interest rates so low at 1% or less than 1%? What if somebody wants to take care of themselves? What if they save their money? What if they plan for the future? They don't like the stock market. Isn't this artificial low? Yes, they're artificial low. And they admit they'd be probably 5 or 6 or 7% if the market dictated the interest rates. But he said their explanation, both of them explained it by saying, well, we have to take care of the financial markets and we have to take care of that in hopes that there will be economic growth, and some people will have to suffer. But you know, that we don't choose victims in a free society, and that's what inflation does. You're choosing victims, just like they did on the bailouts. The companies that overextended themselves and were bankrupt, they should have gone bankrupt. And the bailouts happened against who the victims were. It was the American people. They said it was a debt that couldn't be sold, and guess what? Nobody wanted it. The reason why they couldn't sell it because it was worthless. But the Federal Reserve and Congress came in and they bought up all of that debt. After these guys made so much money in the derivatives market, making billions of dollars, so we ended up with the debt. Now what's happened on the books? It was by printing press money and debt, but now the middle class is getting smaller, and the middle class is less wealthy. There is a transfer of wealth automatically to basic currency from the middle class to the wealthy. But you compound this with the control of the privileged class and add on the subsidies and the bailout, and then it compounds it. This is why the American people, there's so many people upset about it. They have a right to be. But it's very important to try our best to understand exactly where the problems are. Some people will conclude, you're absolutely right, that's why the government has to give you more money, to take care of it. No, that isn't the answer. We have to quit taking care of the privilege and make sure that we have the incentive to work for ourselves and keep what we earn. Very special event. It was a disastrous event for us. I think there's a misinterpretation of it. I think that they concluded that the only reason anybody would ever want to do us harm was because we were free and prosperous. I don't believe that's the case. I believe there's a lot more to it. I think that there's reasons why people could get angry with us when we invade their country and occupy their country. But anyway, the conclusion was that it was a big event. There were plans on the books for doing certain things, and happened 9/11, they said, oh, it was Saddam Hussein and the Al-Qaeda. They passed it. I asked one other congressman, I was sitting beside when he was voting for it. Guess what? I voted against it. You don't know what's in it. Well, that's true. And I said, you know, there's going to be some bad stuff in this. He said, yeah, I know that's true. He said, but how can I vote against something after 9/11, something called the Patriot Act? How would I explain it to my people back home? I said, well, that's your job. Go back home and explain it. If the Patriot Act had been called Repeal the Fourth Amendment Act, it wouldn't have been passed. So when we get around to repealing the Patriot Act, we won't say repeal the Patriot Act. Let's call it Restore the Fourth Amendment Act. What the founders of this country and the revolutionaries complained about, and that was the invasion of the king into their houses and using the military to come in and collect taxes and all these things. So we need to restore that. We need to restore this whole issue of privacy. Just think recently, now this one bit of news is encouraging. You know, that Stop Online Piracy Act. This was a proposed vicious attack on control and to control the internet. There was a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate. And the American people, many of you in this audience, heard about it, knew about it, called your congressman. And guess what? They had a majority vote to pass it in the House and the Senate. When they heard from the American people, they had to it'll happen. Something similar to this happened. The results aren't finalized yet. But last year, not in this current fiscal year, but last year, we had a bill to audit the Federal Reserve. And we got it passed in the House of Representatives. This was a major thing to have it passed. Of course, the President and the Senate took it out of the conference report, but the whole idea, we got that issue on the table. And because of lawsuits and because they had to concede some of the auditing in the Dodd-Frank bill, we do know more now about the Federal Reserve than we have ever known before. And this is the first time in the history of the Federal Reserve that monetary policy of the Federal Reserve is an issue in the presidential campaign.
Yeah!
We have a tremendous task before us. I don't believe it's that complicated. I believe we got into this trouble mostly because we have ignored the Constitution. If we got down to business, decided to live within our means, have some money, bring the troops home, about a year we'd be back on our feet again and be more prosperous than ever before. Especially Russia when their empire collapsed, because they finally extended themselves too far overseas. You know, they got so foolish. They went and invaded Afghanistan. You know, imagine that. And then they got into trouble. Of course, their system left, but their traditions weren't as good. Our traditions are so much better. We had a good Constitution. All we need to do is renew that Constitution. Yep. We've had So it's not like we have to reinvent it. We have to constantly remind those who challenge us that said that we're going back to the Dark Ages. Because freedom is a new idea. It's been barely tested when you look at all of history. Written history, 6,000 years or so, and it is mostly made up of tyrants. And this experiment we had produced the greatest prosperity, the most freedom that we ever have. In the last 100 years, we've sort of drifted away from that. My theory is is that the people in this country got to enjoy the material benefits of liberty, which is good. I mean, that should be one of the goals to have liberty, because there's more prosperity. But if you concentrate only on the prosperity and then go to the government and say, how do I get more prosperity? How do I get more things? How do I get stuff without working? And pretending to take care of the poor with the entitlement system, and the entitlement system ending up helping the very wealthy. So this is what we have to reject. We have to reject this notion that freedom doesn't work. Freedom really is efficient. Freedom is popular, and it brings us all together. Freedom and how it works is the fact that if you're allowed to use your freedom in any manner that you see fit, and you don't force anything on other people, and if you make a mistake, it's your own responsibility, why shouldn't everybody be for freedom? Everybody be for liberty if no one's going to use force and intimidation on telling other people how to spend their money or run their lives or what religion they have to practice or what the other countries have to do. All of a sudden, we all should come together. It's a diversity of people to come together, not because we're going to use liberty the same way, nor should we have to endorse how people use their liberties. We don't endorse everybody's religion, but we endorse the principle of freedom of choice in religion. Why shouldn't that be across the board for economic issues, personal habits, social values? The market doesn't take care of everybody. The truth is, though, the freer society, the more prosperous.
That's right.
Yeah.
Woo!
The more the government intimidates us and all of us how we're supposed to live, the less likely it will be for us to pursue what I think is important in life. My personal belief is that we should seek virtue and excellence, and that should be how we gain our personal satisfaction. But when governments get involved in telling each of one and what you're to do, how you're going to be virtuous and how you spend your money, or virtuous how you do with your personal habits, you lose everything. And it's sort of like this exceptionalism, pushing our exceptionalism around the world. You use force, it failed. So the use of force cancels out the whole principles of liberty and voluntarism. Yes, our goals can be very similar. The goals of others who want to use government, they're usually well motivated. I think they're very confused on the principles of liberty and very confused on the economics, but I'll give them their due that most of the time, they are well intentioned. But good intentions aren't enough. You have to have the right ideas and understand how economics work, why sound money is important, why property rights are important. If that is the case, then we can achieve our peace and prosperity, which should be our goal. Then we can create this environment where the creative energy of each and every one of us can come out. That's what we need. That's what we had a lot more of before. It was never perfect, but there's no reason why we have to go back to an imperfect era, but we can go back and pick up the pieces and look at our Constitution, and look at our tradition, and improve upon it, make it better, make a freer society, and understand this better, and a wealthier society as well. Country will have to make up their minds. Government is a reflection of the people, as I pointed out about how we can affect the government, whether it's the Federal Reserve, when they hear a message, or the internet. But the message now has to be loud and clear. We don't need more government. We need less government. We need more freedom. We need more law.